A decade ago, the name Elon Musk was synonymous with visionary genius. He was the real-life Iron Man, the man who dared to dream bigger than anyone else, launching rockets into space, building electric car empires, and revolutionizing how we think about energy. He was the epitome of human ambition, inspiring millions. But in 2022, everything changed. Elon Musk, already one of the most powerful and influential figures on the planet, decided to buy Twitter, a platform he claimed was vital for free speech, a digital town square. He renamed it X. What followed was not the brilliant transformation the world expected. Instead, we witnessed a rapid, bewildering descent into chaos. Engineers were fired by the thousands. Advertisers fled. Features broke. The platform itself, once a global heartbeat, began to feel like a digital ghost town, haunted by the very paranoia and impulsiveness of its new owner. This was not a business mistake. This was not a technology failure. This was a psychological collapse, born from the fatal blind spot of an ego that had become unmanageable. The question is, how could a man who so brilliantly mastered space and automotive engineering so catastrophically mismanage a social media platform? This is the blind spot. We are not a news channel. We are a corporate profiler. We don't just ask what happened, we ask why. To understand the unraveling of Twitter, now X, you cannot just look at the stock market. You have to look at the psychology. You have to profile the mind of the man who led the charge, Elon Musk. And to do that, you must first understand the psychological flaw that defines his entire story. It's a concept we call the Messiah complex. The Messiah complex is a fatal blind spot. It manifests when a person, often brilliant and successful, begins to genuinely believe they are uniquely destined to save the world, or a significant part of it. Their past successes fuel an unshakable conviction that only they possess the insight and courage to solve complex problems. This isn't just confidence, it's a sense of divine, often aggressive, purpose. The danger of this complex is immense. It creates an echo chamber where dissent is seen not as constructive criticism, but as an attack on their sacred mission. Advisors become sycophants. Data that contradicts the vision is dismissed as irrelevant or part of the problem. The Messiah complex isn't about intelligence. It's about identity merging with destiny. Elon Musk's identity was not just CEO, it was the savior of humanity. In the early 2020s, Elon Musk truly believed Twitter was broken. He saw it as a bastion of censorship, controlled by shadowy forces, stifling free speech and undermining democracy. This wasn't just a business opportunity. It was a moral imperative. He was not just buying a company. He was undertaking a rescue mission. His initial offer to buy Twitter for $44 billion was met with shock and skepticism. The company's board tried to resist, but Musk, with his vast wealth and legions of online followers, waged a public war. His tweets, often aggressive and unfiltered, became the battleground. He painted himself as the underdog, the truth-teller fighting against the establishment. The board eventually capitulated. But then, as the market shifted and the true financial cost of his impulsive decision became clear, Musk tried to back out of the deal. He accused Twitter of lying about its bot numbers, initiating a legal battle that was both chaotic and deeply public. This exposed a key trait, an almost pathological need to control the narrative, and a tendency to lash out when challenged. However, a court forced his hand. In October 2022, Elon Musk officially bought Twitter. He arrived at the company's headquarters carrying a sink, declaring, "Let that sink in." It was a meme, a joke, a symbol of his unconventional style. But beneath the humor, there was a stark reality. He wasn't just taking over a company, he was taking over a culture, and he believed that culture was fundamentally corrupt. His first week was a whirlwind of impulsive, aggressive decisions. The existing leadership, the people who had built and maintained the platform for years, were summarily fired. Then came the mass layoffs, thousands of engineers, product managers, and trust and safety experts, often without warning or clear explanation. Musk believed he didn't need their expertise. He believed the company was bloated, inefficient, and riddled with ideological bias. He had his vision. He had his genius. He would fix it himself. He didn't want to analyze Twitter's existing operations. He didn't want to engage in a gradual transition. He already knew what Twitter needed: It needed him. His fatal assumption was that the highly complex, nuanced world of social media moderation, content policy, and user psychology could be solved by sheer will and brute force, just like building a rocket. He believed he wasn't just managing a company, he was performing a surgery, and the patient was sick, infected with ideas he despised. And so, he announced his grand plan. He would transform Twitter into X, the everything app. He would implement radical changes to content moderation, user verification, and even the platform's core identity. He would fix free speech. He would save democracy. He, Elon Musk, the Messiah, was here to purify the digital town square. Elon Musk's surgery began not with a scalpel but with a chainsaw. The speed of the chaos was breathtaking. After the initial mass layoffs, which cut the company in half, he sent an ultimatum to the remaining terrified employees. It was an email sent at midnight, demanding a new, hardcore culture. Employees were given a choice: pledge to be extremely hardcore, working long hours at high intensity, or leave. This wasn't a management decision. This was a loyalty test. It was the Messiah complex in its purest form. You are either with me on this divine mission, or you are against me. There was no middle ground. The result was a second mass exodus. Hundreds of the most vital, experienced engineers, the ones who had kept the platform running for years, looked at this ultimatum and they chose to leave. The institutional knowledge of Twitter, the collective memory of how to fix its complex systems, walked out the door. Elon was left with a skeleton crew of loyalists and those too scared to leave. He believed this was a victory. He had purged the non-believers. In reality, he had just set his own house on fire. And the first and most catastrophic fire was the blue check. In Elon's mind, the original verification system was corrupt. It was a lords and peasants system, a symbol of the elite media establishment he despised. His solution, born from his Messiah vision, was to democratize it. He would give verification to anyone for $8. This was not a product decision. This was an ideological one. He was liberating the people. His remaining engineers, terrified but still logical, warned him. They told him this would lead to mass impersonation. They told him it would destroy the platform's core function, to verify identity, not payment. He ignored them. This is the fatal flaw of the Messiah complex. Dissent is not data, it is heresy. He reportedly fired the engineers who questioned him, and he ordered the $8 check to be launched immediately. The result was, without question, the fastest self-immolation of a multi-billion-dollar brand in modern history. Within hours, the platform descended into anarchy. A verified account posing as the pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly tweeted, "We are excited to announce insulin is now free." The company's actual stock price plummeted by billions of dollars in real time. A verified account posing as Lockheed Martin announced it was halting all weapon sales. Verified accounts for Nintendo, Coca-Cola, and hundreds of others posted obscene or absurd messages, all while bearing the official blue checkmark that Elon himself had just sold them. It was a prankster's paradise. It was a CEO's worst nightmare. And it was a complete, total, psychological failure. Elon, blinded by his own genius idea, had failed to understand the most basic function of his own platform. He had confused identity with status. He wasn't just democratizing a checkmark. He was destroying the very concept of trust, the one single asset that a social media platform must have to survive. Now we must talk about the real customer of Twitter. It wasn't the users. It was the advertisers. Companies like Eli Lilly, Coca-Cola, Apple, and Disney, who paid billions of dollars a year to place their ads in front of users. They do not pay for chaos. They pay for safety. They pay for predictability. And they watched in absolute horror as the platform they relied on was being set on fire by its own owner. They watched as their brands were being impersonated, and they watched as Elon himself, in his quest for free speech, unbanned some of the most controversial and hateful accounts on the planet. The advertisers did the only logical thing they could do. They fled. In a matter of days, a stampede of the world's largest companies pulled their advertising dollars from Twitter. The financial bedrock of the company, its primary source of revenue, evaporated. It evaporated, not because of a market crash, but because of the impulsive, arrogant, and chaotic decisions of one man. This is where the second psychological flaw begins to take over. The Messiah complex had caused the disaster. Now, paranoia would set in. Elon Musk, the man who believed he was saving the world, was now faced with a catastrophic failure. His genius $8 idea was a global joke. His advertisers were gone. His revenue was gone. A normal CEO would panic, apologize, and reverse course. But a Messiah cannot be wrong. If the plan is failing, it cannot be his fault. It must be the fault of his enemies. The woke mind virus. The media elite, the establishment, and most dangerous of all them, the enemies inside his own company. Elon began a hunt for saboteurs. He publicly tweeted, asking why the platform felt slow. When a remaining engineer had the courage to publicly reply, giving him a detailed technical breakdown of the platform's architecture, Elon didn't thank him. He fired him. Publicly. The message was clear. Do not question the king. Do not bring him bad news. The man who had promised free speech had created the most toxic, fearful work environment in tech. The echo chamber was now complete. Elon Musk was alone at the top, surrounded only by yes men, listening only to his own paranoia. And the platform continued to burn. The platform was now in a state of constant, chaotic freefall. And Elon Musk, the Messiah, was trapped in a fortress of his own paranoia. He had purged the dissenters. He had alienated the advertisers. He was now at war with his own creation. Any time the platform glitched, which was now happening daily due to the lack of engineers, his first assumption wasn't a technical bug. It was sabotage. He publicly mused about bad actors and enemies trying to take the platform down. This paranoia began to drive his product decisions. In an infamous move, he suddenly implemented rate limits, severely restricting the number of tweets users could see each day. He claimed it was to fight data scrapers and AI bots, but the result was that he made his own platform unusable. Loyal users, the ones who hadn't left, suddenly hit a paywall they couldn't see. The site just stopped working. It was another impulsive, reactive decision, made from a place of fear, not strategy. He was breaking his own platform day by day, in a desperate attempt to prove he was in control. His Messiah complex was now fully eclipsed by his paranoia. He wasn't the savior anymore. He was the warlord of a dying kingdom. He began lashing out. When media organizations like NPR or the BBC were labeled state-affiliated media, they protested. A normal CEO would have apologized and fixed the error. Elon doubled down. He engaged in public, childish fights with journalists. He seemed to enjoy the chaos. This is a critical psychological tell. When the Messiah vision fails, the new mission becomes war. If you cannot be the savior, you become the disruptor. If you cannot be praised, you must be feared. His ego could not accept failure. It could only change the definition of success. Success was no longer a functioning, profitable platform. Success was owning the libs. Success was pissing off the media. Success was chaos. But all of this, the layoffs, the blue check, the rate limits, it was all just a prelude. It was the rumbling before the volcano. The true final act of the Messiah complex was yet to come. It wasn't enough to fix Twitter. He had to kill it. He had to erase the old corrupt world to make way for his own. In July 2023, with no warning, Elon Musk announced that Twitter was dead. The name was gone. The iconic bluebird logo, one of the most recognized brand symbols on Earth, a logo worth an estimated $10 to $20 billion, was gone. In its place was a single letter: X. This was not a rebrand. This was an assassination. It was the single most destructive act of ego in modern business history. From a business perspective, it was pure insanity. You do not take a globally recognized name like Twitter and throw it in the trash. The word tweet was in the dictionary. It was a verb. He destroyed it. The X brand was meaningless. It was generic. It was cold. But it was his. This is the key to the entire profile. To understand this decision, you must understand Elon Musk's decades-long obsession with the letter X. It was the name of his first company, X.com, which later became PayPal. He named his child X. He named his space company SpaceX. To him, X was not just a letter. It was a symbol. It was the symbol of his genius, his vision, his identity. He hadn't just bought Twitter. He had bought a vessel, a lifeless body, that he could now resurrect with his own soul. He didn't care that the world loved the bluebird. The bluebird wasn't his. It was a remnant of the old world, the old corrupt establishment he had come to destroy. This is the Messiah complex at its peak. It is a profound, narcissistic need to erase the past, to destroy all symbols of the old regime and replace them with symbols of yourself. He didn't want to be the CEO of Twitter. He wanted to be the creator of X. He was willing to burn $44 billion just to satisfy that single psychological need. The chaos that followed was almost comical. He tried to have the new X logo projected onto the side of the San Francisco headquarters. The police shut it down because he didn't have a permit. He installed a giant, flashing, blinding X sign on the roof. The city of San Francisco, citing numerous code violations, forced him to take it down after just 3 days. He was a messiah at war, with city planning. It was a perfect metaphor. His grand, impulsive vision was crashing against the boring, complex reality of rules. His paranoia and his ego had now merged. He was not just killing Twitter. He was killing the very concept of a shared digital reality. The town square he promised to liberate was now a dictatorship of one. A chaotic, broken platform, run by the whims of a single, unpredictable, and increasingly isolated man. He was the king of an empire of ash. The result of this psychological storm is the platform we see today. X, a platform in a permanent state of identity crisis. The advertisers, the financial lifeblood of the company, have not returned. They have been replaced by low-quality, often bizarre ads. The user base is shrinking. The free speech that Musk championed has often been criticized as a haven for misinformation and hate, driving away the very town square he claimed to be protecting. The X rebrand was a failure. It failed to inspire a new vision. It only served to remind people of the chaos and the loss of the beloved bluebird. Elon Musk didn't just buy Twitter for $44 billion. He lit $44 billion on fire. He conducted in public the most expensive psychological breakdown in human history. This brings us to the core of the profile, the autopsy of the man and the platform. And before we get to the final lesson, I have to ask, after seeing this profile, after seeing the ego, the chaos, and the paranoia, where do you stand? Is Elon Musk a deluded messiah, a man whose own arrogance and impulsiveness are destroying a vital global platform? Or is he a true visionary playing a long game that none of us can see? Is this chaos simply the necessary creative destruction required to build something truly new? Are we, the critics, just too stupid to understand the genius? Or is he just a billionaire who has lost his mind? I want to see your analysis. Debate this in the comments. Messiah or madman, let me know. This is the blind spot. And this is the lesson. The fall of Twitter is not a story about technology. It is a story about psychology. It is the story of a specific type of genius and a specific type of failure. And it is defined by one fatal blind spot. Elon Musk is, without question, a genius. But he is a genius of a specific kind. He is a genius of physics. His entire life, his entire success was built on solving problems in the physical world. Building a Tesla, building a SpaceX rocket is unbelievably difficult. But it is a battle against rules. The rules of engineering, the rules of gravity, the rules of manufacturing. These rules are hard, but they are consistent. If you are smart enough and you work hard enough, you can solve them. Elon Musk is perhaps the greatest solver of physical problems of our generation. This is what created his Messiah complex. He believed because he could solve physics, he could solve anything. And in 2022, he bought a company that was not based on physics. He bought a company based on psychology. Twitter and all social media is not an engineering problem. It is a human problem. It is a chaotic, messy, irrational system of communication, emotion, trust, community, and tribalism. It does not follow the rules of physics. It follows the rules of the human heart. And the human heart cannot be solved. It cannot be fixed with a hardcore ultimatum. It cannot be optimized by firing all the bad people. A community is not a circuit board. This is the fatal flaw. This is the blind spot of Elon Musk. He looked at the chaotic, messy human problem of Twitter, and he thought it was a broken engine. He thought he could just rip out the parts he didn't like, replace them with his own, and make it run better. He didn't realize, Codwin, he wasn't in an engineering lab, he was in a digital society. He wasn't performing a fix. He was performing a surgery on a global nervous system with a hammer. His paranoia, his chaos, his ego, they are all symptoms of this one fundamental misunderstanding. He cannot understand why free speech is hard. He cannot understand why advertisers need safety. He cannot understand why a community cannot be commanded like an army. He is a genius of control, and he had purchased the one thing in the world that is fundamentally uncontrollable. The story of Elon Musk and X is a warning. It is a warning that the skills that make you a genius in one area do not make you a genius in all areas. It is a warning that ego is the enemy of understanding. And it is a warning that if you believe you are a messiah, you are often the one single person who cannot see the real fatal blind spot, the one in the mirror. It is the blind spot.